Hi, happy Monday. So, on this episode of Family Morning Bible Studies, we're continuing on like the new year, same God. So, last week we talked about Genesis 15 and how God originally made the covenant with Abraham that his offspring that would become, numerous like the stars, they would multiply, and the promise for the promised land, the covenant that he made. Well, today we're going to start in Exodus chapter 6, and this is after the Israelites have become the nation, they've multiplied, and now God is ready to call them out of Egypt. And so in chapter 6, I love because it starts off where God says, "Now you shall see what I do to Pharaoh. With a strong hand he will send out, and with a strong hand he will drive them out of his land." And then he continues on in verse 5, and God reminds Moses, he's saying, "I have remembered my covenant." You may have thought, like, oh, that was so many generations ago, because you got to think about it. It was all the way back to Abraham. So it was Abraham, his son Isaac, then Jacob, and then the 12 sons that became the 12 tribes of Israel, and then they multiplied into this huge, ginormous nation. So Moses may be thinking, I mean, that was for Abraham. That was generations ago, right? And God is saying, look, I remember it, so I need you to remember it. And I do not lie. What I promise will come true in the lineage that I have promised it to. And one thing, like the main point that we talked about, is when you continue on in chapter 6, God is confirming that he remembers, but so it's not God that forgot. It shows here, and this is going to be in verse 9. Moses is supposed to go back and tell the people, okay, it's time. God remembered his covenant. He's time to fulfill it. And in verse 9 it says, "Moses spoke thus to the people of Israel, but they did not listen to Moses because of their broken spirit and because of the harsh slavery." Okay, friends, that is the root of what we're going to talk about this week, because we have to remember things that break our hearts. So what broke your spirit and broke your heart last year cannot come into this year. It just can't. And we have to remember, and we have to constantly be feeding our spirit, that God is for us and not against us. He wants to bless us exceedingly abundantly, more than we could ask or imagine. What the locust ate, he wants to restore the years that the locust ate. Whatever you didn't have, or whatever didn't get to, has not been fulfilled, he in an instant can just miraculously do it. He is the healer. He is the our pure provider, the one that is going to come through for you. And so when Satan tries to come, crazy in our minds, we have to stand firm that, you know what? God is who he is. And think of how many times in Psalms David was telling, I command my spirit to believe. I command the downtroddenness of my spirit to become joyful again. This is why, because Israelites did not believe that it was time, or believe Moses, or still struggled in the wilderness. You know the continuation of the story. They had disobedience and lack of faith because their spirits were broken. So if your spirit is broken this year and the beginning of 2026, I want to encourage you to speak to your spirit. Allow God to mend those broken pieces back together, because he is the ultimate healer of whatever it is, whether it was a physical ailment, whether it was a relationship that needs to be healed, whether it was, a career situation or a marriage, kids, whatever it is. He is the ultimate healer, and you've got to get that spirit healed and remind your spirit of the character of God, the faithfulness of God, the steadfastness of God, that he is never going to give up on you or your legacy, because he remembers, like it says in verse 5 there in Exodus chapter 6. So this week we're going to be talking about, the continuation where God is bringing out Israel from Egypt, and why it mattered for them to go into Egypt, because there was a purpose for it. Every part of your life has a purpose, even the ones that you feel like you might have been in slavery or bondage over. There was a purpose, and there was a reason that when God drawed you out of that, he also pulled you close. So I hope that blesses you today. And I just want to encourage you, have morning Bible studies with your family. Me and my husband do it with our 4 kids, and it is one of our favorite ways to do it. We make breakfast, we get it all ready, we sit down for 15 to 20 minutes, we have a main point, we have a life application, and we just take God with us and start it first thing in the morning. So you have a blessed day.